Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine and I have a physics lesson to share with you today. We're using our live education Waldorf curriculum for physics, and this main lesson block is an introduction to physics focusing on heat, light, and sound. So this first lesson is going to be a religious lesson that's going to include some verses from the Qur'an rather than some of the passages that are included in the main lesson book. And I am going to do this with chalk pastels. I like my Sargent Art squared chalk pastels. You do need to fix this when you are done using them, especially in a main lesson book. Otherwise, they will smear onto your other pages. I'm using my main lesson books from a child stream. These measure 9.5 inches by 12.5 inches. And I am going to be removing the onion skin between these two sheets of paper in order to do this illustration. This is an illustration that I have done in the past when we were doing our physics unit a few years ago, and I did this illustration on a chalkboard, and I loved the way it turned out so much that we kept that illustration up even through other main lesson blocks. So I decided to recreate that same illustration based on the book with the illustration provided in the main lesson book. But I actually really don't like the way this turned out at all. It is darker and more gloomy than the one that I did on the chalkboard. You can find the original illustration that I did on the chalkboard on the blog post that accompanies this video, and you can find that link down in the description box below if you'd like to see it. But I'm going to keep working on this, and I like it less and less as I go. So I decided to add a few of my color pencils over the chalk to sort of blend it. Well, first I add my chalk pencils in order to blend it. Later I'm going to add my color pencils. And this is not doing much for it. It's taking a lot of time and it's not really improving the look very much. Now, at this point, I could just tear out these first two pages and then just continue doing a new illustration. Since this is the very beginning of the book, I haven't even done a cover page, and so it's of no consequence really to take out these pages. And I do consider doing that, but in the end, I decided to keep it in and then do a new illustration, which I will show you. But the reason why I kept it in was that if I tear out these two pages, I'm also basically tearing out two pages at the back of the book. And I wasn't sure how many lessons we were going to need to do or how many entries in this main lesson book we were going to have. So I decided not to do that, but that is an option if it's at the beginning of the book. And another option is to add two new pieces of paper over this and just glue them in place or tape them in place. So here's the matte finish that you want to use if you're using a chalk or a chalk pastel or even pastels. And this is going to fix the work so that you can write over it if you need to, or in my case, I'm going to add a few color pencils over it, or you can just prevent it from smearing or getting onto other work. So I decide instead I'm going to use my Lyra Colored Pencils to make a whole new drawing. I'm not even going to bother with trying to draw over the chalk pastels, which you can do with colored pencils once you are done with finishing it with the matte fixative and it dries thoroughly. But I decided that I was really going for a particular vibe for this illustration, and I really wanted it to be a lot lighter and more ethereal, and the sunset or the sunrise just to have a more beautiful glow. And so I decided that I was going to have a better chance in doing that if I use my color pencils instead. So when I was researching for this lesson and including some religious context for this lesson, I had intended just to use one verse from the Qur'an, but I ended up liking all of the verses that I found, and I ended up using this entire 2-page spread to write all of the verses down. Some of the verses that we use for this lesson are from Surah Baqarah, ayah 117. The originator of the heavens and the earth, when he decrees a matter, he only says to it, be, and it is. And in Surah 21, ayah 30, Allah says, have those who disbelieved not considered that the heavens and the earth were a joined entity, and we separated them and made from water every living thing, then will they not believe? And in Surah number 41, ayah 11, he says, then he directed himself to the heaven while it was smoke and said to it and to the earth, come into being willingly or by compulsion. They said, we will come willingly. And in Surah 51, ayah 47, Allah says, "And the heaven we constructed with strength, and indeed we are its expander." And in Surah number 57, ayah 4, "It is He who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, and He established Himself above the throne. He knows what enters into the earth and what emerges from it, and what descends from the heaven and what ascends therein. And He is with you wherever you are, and Allah of what you do is seen." Previously, I had just used the ayah about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creating the world, the heavens and the earth in 6 days, and that is what went on top of our chalk drawing from our original main lesson block for physics a few years ago. But this time around, instead of just using that ayah, I decided to research a little bit more and see what other verses pertained to this particular lesson. And I found so many that I ended up using many of them. So here is another one that also talks about the heavens and the earth being created in 6 days. And you can hear a lot of repetition. There are 3 different surahs that speak about the heavens and the earth being created in 6 days. So in Surah Yunus, ayah number 3, Allah says, "Indeed, your Lord is Allah, who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, and then established Himself above the throne, arranging the matter of His creation." Again, in Surah number 7, ayah 54, Allah says, "Indeed, your Lord is Allah, who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, and then established Himself above the throne. He covers the night with day, another night chasing it rapidly, and he created the sun and the moon and the stars, subjected by His command. Unquestionably, His is the creation and the command. Blessed is Allah, Lord of the worlds." And in Surah number 67, ayah 3 and 4, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "He who created the 7 heavens in layers, you do not see the creation of the most merciful any inconsistency. So return your vision to the sky. Do you see any breaks? Then return your vision twice again. Your vision will return to you humbled, and it is fatigued." And I love this verse, these 2 verses so much, because it is a challenge to human beings to look and to see if there are any imperfections or any breaks. And you will look and you will look again, and you will keep looking, and you will look until you are so fatigued, and you will return humbled because you will see its perfection. And then in Surah number 79, ayah 27 to 30, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Are you a more difficult creation, or is the heaven? Allah constructed it. He raised its ceiling and proportioned it, and He darkened its night and extracted its brightness. And after that, He spread the earth." Such beautiful verses and so poignant for this lesson. So I love including these kinds of lessons into our main lesson block, where I can really allow our personal culture and religion to shine through. And I encourage you to do the same as well if you want to add some personalization to any curriculum, but especially the Waldorf curriculum. Don't forget to check out the blog post that accompanies this video for more information, as well as books and resources and links to the materials that I've used. You can find the link to that blog post down in the description box below. And if you'd like to see how we're homeschooling on a daily basis, you can find me on Instagram and now on TikTok at Pepper and Pine.